Oh, those dastardly video game bosses. Where would we be without them? Their battles are oftentimes a test of our skill and strength, and whilst some of the bosses on this rundown do present a challenge to beat them, really what I'm looking to highlight are those antagonists who die in rather more unusual circumstances. Note, there are spoilers for a raft of games in this rundown, so skip a section if you haven't seen those games to their conclusions. Devon Weston, GTA V.
More talkie!
Shady billionaire Devon Weston eventually meets his comeuppance at the end of GTA V, assuming you opt for the third ending by deciding Franklin spare Michael and Trevor. It always made sense to me to go after slimy shark Weston, whose influence runs deep into government agencies, private military companies, and movie studios, rather than kill your cohorts anyway. So as it happens, Weston doesn't go out in a blaze of glory, nor epic gun battle, for his never-ending trail of betrayal is deserving of something more humiliating. After Trevor kidnaps Weston by stuffing him into the boot of his car, the trio reconvene at a rather picturesque spot, a glistening pool of aqueous beauty, amber-hued in Californian sunset, and unceremoniously roll the car off the cliff.
So now what?
Joker, Batman Arkham City. The Joker is a victim of his own chaos in Batman Arkham City, set 18 months after the events of Arkham Asylum, with Gotham's slums transformed into the eponymous city rife with unruly inmates. Joker hatches a plot to infect Gotham's hospitals with his blood contaminated with Titan formula, of which he previously consumed in hope of becoming an overpowered monster, but instead found his health degenerating. In true Joker fashion, Arkham City's final showdown is rather haphazard, with no discernible plan for defeating Batman and obtaining Mr. Freeze's Titan antidote. When all is done, Clayface defeated, Lazarus Pit destroyed, antidote in hand, Joker attempts some clumsy attack on Batman, causing him to drop the antidote, thus condemning Joker to succumb to Titan's toxic formula.
Do you want to know something funny? Even after everything you've done, I would have saved you.
That actually is pretty funny.
Professor Nakayama, Borderlands 2. Profoundly incompetent, Professor Nakayama serves as primary antagonist in Borderlands 2's Sir Hammerlock's Big Game Hunt DLC. In revenge for Handsome Jack's demise in Borderlands 2, Professor Nakayama sets up a gauntlet of challenges, which, once swept aside, draw him out of hiding. Him and his ridiculous shoulder gun reveal themselves at the top of a large stairway before he promptly stumbles mid-monologue, tumbling down the stairway to his death. For extra tongue-in-cheek hilarity, his health bar appears on screen depleting as he falls. The Fear, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Spider Soldier of the elite Cobra unit The Fear went to extreme lengths to instill dread in his opponents, from surgically enhancing his joints to both move ways to forking his tongue reptile style. His insistence on wearing prototype stealth camouflage, rendering him near invisible on the battlefield, was his undoing though. For all its light-bending capability, it sucked his stamina, making him awful hungry. When the Fear is hungry, he'll ignore the battle and search for foodstuffs with which to replenish his stamina, chuck out some rotten food, and voila, the Fear will wolf it down for an easy food poisoning kill. Jarek, Star Wars Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2. Back in the olden days of Star Wars lore, we had Dark Jedi, not as hellbent on galactic dominance as a Sith Lord, but instead a cruel, Force-sensitive mercenary who uses the dark side for their own nefarious ends. Jarek was one such Dark Jedi, and you'll meet him as a final boss battle at the end of Dark Forces 2. And let's be clear, it's a tricky fight. Jarek has access to Force power that is trapped inside the Valley Core, and as such can heal himself mid-fight, rendering him invincible in the process, while simultaneously hurting you. But there is one neat trick to defeating him which doesn't involve using the Force at all. No, stick a load of mines at the core's entryway and Jarek will stupidly stumble over them. Simple as that. Jarek can't outforce a load of explosives. Officer Tenpenny, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. As corrupt as the gangs with which he's supposed to police, LSPD Officer Frank Tenpenny coerces funds straight off the streets via intimidation and brutality. As powerful a hold he has over San Andreas' underworld, and in particular a grip on player character CJ, Officer T does that classic supervillain thing of capturing our protagonist but not sticking around to watch them die. Oh well, Tenpenny's days were numbered anyway, but with CJ and Brother Sweet able to give chase in the final mission, things might have at least ended less comically for him. See, Tenpenny attempts escape from San Andreas in a hulking great fire engine loaded with drug money. He runs over an overpass, crashing onto Grove Street below in poetic, somewhat ironic justice. Albert Wesker, Resident Evil 5. Driven mad by his own power, Albert Wesker's superhuman strength was enhanced by a prototype T-virus, leading him to believe his mission was to eradicate humanity. Such lofty ego deserves a suitably bombastic finale, and RE5, being as over-the-top action-laden as it is, certainly delivers. Namely, Wesker's demise was met inside a volcano of all places, but it wasn't falling into lava that killed him. No, it was the 2 RPG rockets, fired from the overhead helicopter which finally incinerated this evil genius. Irene Engel, Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. Frau Engel is fanatically loyal to the Nazi Party but unsettlingly unhinged. She first appeared in Wolfenstein: A New Order, but returned to the game's sequel as the main antagonist. Her murderous destruction culminates in her executing Blazkowicz at the Lincoln Memorial on live TV, setting an example to the pockets of resistance throughout Nazi-occupied USA. Her preceding PR campaign intended to instill fear on those opposed to the regime goes horribly wrong for her though, for it's ironic she herself meets her end on live TV with a bioengineered Blazkowicz, slicing her face open via a hand hatchet. Darlene Fischer, Dead Rising 3. As one of the 7 psychopaths in Dead Rising 3, Darlene Fischer is certainly one of the game's most unsettling. Her insatiably gluttonous appetite translates into rampant mania, and she's willing to fight to the death rather than share a crumb of food. Her mobility scooter makes her remarkably nimble though, with her deadly spork hard to dodge. She eats so much that she routinely vomits. If she'd have just shared some of the food, then her mobility scooter wouldn't have slipped on a pool of her own vomit. Zlatko Andronikov, Detroit Become Human. A running theme of this rundown are game bosses who meet their comeuppance largely as a result of their own actions. The secondary antagonist in Kara's story in Detroit Become Human is no different, for Zlatko is overtly cruel to the game's androids, with the only discernible reason for this being his pursuit of sadistic pleasure. When Kara and Alice are unlucky enough to land on his doorstep, ever the opportunistic Zlatko hatches a plan to trick Kara into resetting her mind, making her his slave. Her escape and ensuing chase are rudimentary as no matter what happens, Zlatko was not banking on his robot butler Luther to turn deviant, as if his fellow android's arrival unlocked a vengeful spirit. Depending on player choice, Luther will shoot Zlatko in cold blood, or he'll be bludgeoned to death by his own robotic creations. Jackknife, Mirror's Edge. Despite frequently stating he's not the biggest fish in the pond, Jackknife certainly has an overinflated ego, acting as top dog and frequently underestimating player character Faith's capabilities as a runner. His presumed invincibility knows no limits, for his escape from the top of the shard at game's end is clearly ill-implemented. I mean, who leaves the doors open on a helicopter when there's boxes with which Faith could just jump upwards from? As it happens, that's exactly what she does, clinging onto the chopper's door rail and swing-kicking Jackknife out of the other side like a football into an open goal. That's all for now. If you enjoy what you saw, please hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, now is a great time to subscribe. We upload brand new videos every single day. After subscribing, don't forget to enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you next time, right here on GamingBolt.